Even though Adventure Time is considered the greatest cartoon in history, it's definitely not without its misfires. In this video, we're stepping away from the legendary episodes to check out its lowest rated ones. Do they actually deserve all this hate? Let's find out. Slow Love. This is the kind of episode you'd better skip if you're watching the show because its rating didn't lie at all. It's genuinely one of the series' worst experiences. On a super chill and totally normal day, a giant annoying snail storms into Finn and Jake's treehouse. This creature immediately starts trashing the place and flinging gross, sticky slime into every single corner. To top it off, it completely takes over the house and blackmails the heroes, saying, "Help me find a girl because I totally don't know how to talk to women or else I'll completely wreck your house." Anyway, they head out and sure enough, they find a female snail. He tries making a move, but she gets totally reputed by his goofy moves and bolts. This is where Jake steps in to teach him the basics of flirting, shapeshifting his own body into a female snail to roleplay, which is a super weird scene that leaves Finn totally disgusted. In the end, he attracts hundreds of female snails who start rubbing all over him, causing the house to shake and get violently wrecked. From all his intense screaming, his shell casing slips off, revealing the shocking truth. He's not even a snail at all. He's a naked slug, and that totally explains the secret behind his historic failure with snails. But luckily for him, another slug crawls out from the crowd, and he finally finds love with her. Honestly, this episode was a super triggering experience by every single standard, and the main reason is the snail character, who was annoying and gross to the max. I totally don't get the secret behind Finn and Jake sympathizing with him and helping him out. All he wanted was a date, and those motives never justify all this hassle and totally illogical help. Plus, the visually gross secretions and sticky stuff paired with the repulsive audio made watching it tough and super uncomfortable. The gross romantic hints don't fit the vibe of the events at all, and also the episode suffered from super boring padding in the story. This episode is literally just a couple of spiders fighting in a super gross style. The events kick off with Finn and Jake getting caught in a web belonging to a spider couple, only to discover they're knee-deep in a violent marital dispute. This is where we hit the most triggering moment of the episode. The spider wraps Jake up inside a cocoon with sticky noises and visually gross vibes. The spider starts venting his marital issues to Finn, who drops some romance advice and suggests a gift for the wife, but completely as expected, she hates the gift, which triggers the fight to escalate to brutal physical hits and death threats like typical Black Widow spiders. In a totally absurd finale, the wife starts swelling up to pop out a massive, gross sack of eggs, which bursts open to unleash thousands of baby spiders covering Finn and Jake, and the episode wraps up with a family happy ending that's best described as totally gross. Why is this episode the worst episode? Setting aside all the gross stuff, why would any viewer care about the marital drama of two weirdo spiders? The visual scenes trigger phobia and are totally uncomfortable, not to mention the annoying audio. Their relationship is super toxic, packed with insults and threats, and the whole idea that having a baby will fix everything is a cheap, shallow ending. The bottom line, this is a textbook filler episode, bringing zero value to the show except pure disgust. Most of the low-rated or trash episodes are all about love. Adventure Time is a total failure at romance by every single measure, and the storyline of Tree Trunks and Mr. Pig right here is the ultimate proof. The episode kicks off with the two of them wrapped up in love and over-the-top, grossly exaggerated romance, alongside repulsive, childish voices and dialogue that make you want to throw up. The two of them spin totally out of control and hook up everywhere, in restaurants, the library, Jake and Finn's house, and the streets, totally grossing out the kingdom's citizens. Faced with this mess, Jake and Finn are forced to tear them apart, but the lovers fall into deep depression from the breakup, turning the episode into a weird, annoying opera song. Because of this tune, the heroes let them meet up again, and it all wraps up with a super sketchy kiss at the end. The episode features a ton of cringe comedy that leaves you feeling super uncomfortable and disgusted watching an old elephant and a pig swapping heavily exaggerated kisses. The super boring song in the episode, which is supposed to be romantic, has vocals that are literally annoying and give you a headache. Finn and Jake are just chilling in the episode purely to serve the shallow romantic desires of two creatures that literally nobody in the entire fanbase likes. Freak City. This was the Magic Man's very first appearance, and even though it has nothing to do with the massive main plot, it's super weird and gross. Right from the get-go, he turns a bird inside out and its guts are spilling everywhere while it's still totally alive. Then he zaps Finn with a curse that morphs him into a giant foot stuck right on top of his head in a super disgusting way, and he bolts out to figure out how to handle the whole mess. Finn heads off to help a nearby village, but the locals totally freak out over his gross look and chase him away under an abandoned bridge. Down there, he runs into other victims of the Magic Man, all transformed into random human body parts. One's a human head, another's an arm, and there's even a girl turned straight up into a butt. This throws Finn into a magical, surreal trip where he thinks his hero days are totally over. He wakes up and convinces the rest of the body parts to fuse together into one giant coordinated body, though it's not coordinated at all, turning into a total freakish monster. The Magic Man pops back up, tells them they learned a solid life lesson, and zaps everyone back to normal. The episode is packed with body horror, like the bird scene and the body parts under the bridge designed to look weird, gross, and super unsettling to viewers. And the weirdest part, instead of Jake feeling sad for his buddy, he gets totally obsessed with Finn and his foot, thinking he can shapeshift into anything because he assumes Finn is living the exact same vibe. The Witch's Garden. Now this episode isn't super terrible, but it's got some annoying moments when an evil witch strips Jake of all his magic, turning him into an ordinary guy. Right after he snacks from her garden, she zaps him with a curse that strips away his magic, leaving his body from the neck down looking like a short, fat human man rocking only underwear. He and Finn try heading over to the mud puddle to get his powers back just like he got them in the beginning, and in the end, he finally reclaims his magic. The episode totally flopped because it paints Jake in a super selfish light. He starts off stealing from the witch's garden, and even at the end when he beats her, he steals her donuts and runs off, leaving zero moral lesson for the hero to learn. And the weird body Jake got turned into, looking fat, lazy, heavy, and pretty much a total slob, made the episode visually annoying and gross for viewers. Apple Thief. Moving on to the next episode, Finn and Jake roll up to Tree Trunks, only to find her crying her eyes out because someone stole the fruit right off her tree. The duo decides to investigate this trivial case, but they totally bomb at finding any clues, winding up deep down in the kingdom's basement where weird misfit creatures live. After a bunch of long chases and investigations, they find out the apples weren't stolen at all. It was just a bunch of birds eating them. The episode is super dim and boring, totally lacking any action or hype, backed by a lame goal and an even worse ending. Episodes featuring the character Tree Trunks are always boring or totally pointless, so this one was branded an epic failure, acting as a textbook filler piece. Chips and ice cream. As for this episode, Finn and Jake cross paths with two weird creatures stuck to a shady guy's head. They're basically spirits who only spit out two words: chips and ice cream. Things flip upside down when these two heads jump onto Jake's body, turning the episode literally into an endless, annoying loop of these exact two words, trying their best to push Finn and Jake completely insane. In the end, they drop a song using only those two words to break free, detach from Jake's head, and blast off straight up into the sky. The main reason for the episode's failure is definitely relying entirely on just two words for the whole runtime, making the viewing experience super tedious and driving everyone nuts. And Finn and Jake act basically like mere tools to serve the shallow, annoying, romantic cravings of side creatures nobody even cares about. Love games. Love stories are never a win in this cartoon, and this episode is the ultimate proof right here. The events kick off when Slime Princess rolls up to Finn and drops a shocking demand. "I need you to marry me right now or I'm gonna lose my kingdom." The reason is her sister is getting hitched, and according to kingdom laws, she has to be married too so the throne doesn't get handed over to her sister. Finn reluctantly agrees. They head over to the kingdom, and this is where the most annoying parts of the episode begin, as they're forced to jump into romantic challenges and contests to prove they're the ultimate couple. The first challenge is riding the swan boat and singing together, followed by other tasks packed with kissing, over-the-top physical contact, and cringy, cheesy romantic moves. In the end, everyone finds out the sister's hubby is nothing more than a fake slime blob, not even a real creature to begin with. The episode's ratings tanked because of the overdone, forced romance, alongside the cringy comedy that failed to win over most viewers. The whole episode practically leans on slime creatures living out romantic vibes, forcing Finn to suffer through the whole thing against his will. Sad face. As for this one, its concept is super weird, revolving around Jake's tail sneaking out at night, literally living a full life on its own, working as a sad circus clown, pulling off silent, surreal, gloomy acts, but the crowd hates it and pelts it with trash, forcing it to finally bust out cringy, cheap performances just to score some cash. By the end of the night, the tail freezes up, dragging itself back to wake wake up attached to Jake's body. Even though the episode's concept is crazy and bizarre, the execution was honestly trash. It lacks any clear goal, its pacing drags, the tail character has zero appeal, lacking any expressions or dialogue to hook viewers, and even visually it feels super uncomfortable. That's why I rank it as a textbook filler episode. Paper Pete. In this episode, Finn tries stopping a war between two groups of paper and mold slime creatures. Honestly, the story is super boring. The characters are totally dull and lack any charisma to make us care about their fate. As for the ending, it was a massive letdown. Finn tosses them his shirt to munch on, serving up a cheap finale totally lacking any smart touch or deep drama. Power Animal. Moving to the next episode, Finn gets snatched by a crew of creatures called goblins. Their goal is using him to power up a huge machine as fuel for their society, strapping Finn inside a treadmill wheel where every step he runs charges the machine, leaving him totally helpless to escape. Meanwhile, Jake tries tracking him down, getting completely distracted along the way. Every step he takes, some trivial side thing like food, dancing, or sleeping grabs his attention. It all ends with Jake slipping into deep meditation to track him down and save him from the spinning machine. The episode isn't super annoying, but a bunch of factors made it bad, like Jake's total chill in rescuing his pal, choosing to play around instead of saving his friend, plus the obvious padding to stretch out 11 minutes with trivial scenes, and on top of all that, it packs loud audio and obnoxious screaming that's super taxing on the ears and brings on a headache. Too old now. For this episode, its ratings aren't terrible, but for Adventure Time standards, they're pretty low. When Finn rolls up with Bubblegum on a diplomatic mission to Lemongrab's castle, upon arrival, Lemongrab is massive and super fat, and his brother lost both legs with half his face completely devoured. Lemongrab turned into a sadistic dictator, strapping electric shock collars on all citizens to force total obedience, and he's the one who ate the other lemon. The episode was a terrifying nightmare for kids. The scene of Lemongrab's munched, exposed face, along with the other fat brother devouring his sibling, made for super unsettling and visually repulsive sights. On top of the body horror, the oppression, crushing tyranny, and Lemongrab's piercing, non-stop screams give you a headache. The Jiggler. As for this episode, Finn and Jake stumble upon a musical creature and drag him back home with them. The weird twist hits when he starts chewing on paper and catches a severe illness, blowing up literally with his guts and sticky mucus slime flying everywhere. Jake and Finn finally realize he's far away from his mom, carting him back to his mama to save the day. The main reason for its low ratings is the exploding scene and gross slime everywhere, alongside their desperate attempts to scoop up the fluids with their bare hands and plug the leaks, making for a super bizarre, terrifying, and visually gross viewing experience. The plot is also wildly recycled in the cartoon universe, the whole trope of snatching a baby from its mama, only to be forced to return it at the end without any deep story or hype. Donnie. Another episode where the heroes haul a monster back to their pad who is Donnie while he was trashing the village homes. They try turning him into a good guy, almost pulling it off, but the crisis hits when he stops being annoying. The village wolves raid the place and start wrecking everything, only to discover his good side stopped him from releasing a gas that scares off the wolves, so they're forced to insult him, bully him, and deliberately hurt his feelings to trigger his anger and savage nature back, succeeding as he drops the gas and chases the wolves away. This episode is weird, its ending makes zero sense, and its moral message is total garbage, especially flipping a good character into a villain. They tried cooking up an important villain matching the rest of the baddies, but he dropped flat and disappointed. Still, this episode kicks off with Finn and Jake waking up to find the Ice King right inside their house. He zaps them with a curse, freezing them solid, while keeping their consciousness and ability to speak intact. The reason? Ice King's green with envy over their friendship, forcing them to hang out and chat with him against their will. Simply put, the whole episode suffers from killer monotony. Most of the runtime drags with Ice King talking to them while they stay totally frozen without a single movement or plot shift. Ring of Fire. Another episode starring Tree Trunks, and she's sad about her past and old husbands, and the whole episode talks about her 3 previous husbands. The first one she married at 18, but ditched and bailed on him on wedding day right before the honeymoon because she felt bored. The second one she married and lived a pirate life with. with, but found out a lie he hid from her, so she dumped him on a deserted island all alone. The third was a shipping company CEO she met and married, then left after a while because he was whiny and weak. The episode dropped in the late season 10, so fans were waiting with total excitement for the finale to solve the Golb mystery, only for this unimportant filler episode to pop up. Besides the fact that nobody likes the boring character Tree Trunks with her annoying, hated voice tone and her gross romantic misadventures, Fiona and Cake and Fiona. Even though a whole spin-off series dropped for Fiona and Cake, this episode from the original series scored super low ratings, because it was considered a total trick or a massive letdown. When Finn and Jake head to the library and the Ice King reads them a fanfic he wrote starring Fiona and Cake, during the session an old lady shows up who's supposedly the real Fiona, and after checking out the tapes, it turns out at the end of the episode that the old lady isn't Fiona at all, just a scammer, and the tapes were just old commercials from before the Mushroom War. Its ratings tanked because fans thought the cartoon was going to deliver a parallel universe, but in the end, it was just a prank. And the most important one was the episode, The Prince Who Wanted Everything. And there was also another Fiona and Cake episode, but from the perspective of Lumpy Space Princess. It felt like she was the hero as a handsome male character living a life of wealth and luxury, wanting to experience living a life of poverty and homelessness in an arrogant, selfish way with total spoiled drama. The episode was boring and dragged out, and didn't focus on Fiona and Cake as much as LSP, even though fans wanted more of Fiona and Cake's adventures, which is why its ratings are super low. But at least it was a smart hint pointing to a real parallel universe existing for the characters. And the final episode is gonna be Water Park Prank. This episode is ranked as the absolute lowest rated in all of Adventure Time. But why? Its story follows Finn and Jake heading to a water park packed with brand new characters, where they start pulling lame pranks after noticing a kid doing tricks and pranks on people. The problem isn't the episode's plot itself, but the art style. Even though in my view it's somewhat decent, it's totally different from the usual, and that's what didn't sit well with tons of viewers, as they felt the visuals were annoying and completely out of sync with the show's identity. The comedy didn't hit very well either, relying on random pranks, while the dialogue came across as weak and annoying to many. The episode isn't necessarily super terrible, but the art style made it feel way closer to short kid cartoons, which heavily impacted how fans received it. Plus, the over-the-top bullying targeting the Ice King and kicking him out of the park with zero justification. We've reached the end of the video. Make sure to like and subscribe. Catch you later!